It's really my pleasure to be with you today to present a case study, I would call it, in governmental cooperation between the government of the United Arab Emirates and the government of my country, the Arab Republic of Egypt, in the field of government advancement, government reform. Similar to many discussions that have been going on in the World Government Summit so far, the big theme is cooperation. The big theme is that we are facing a lot of challenges, facing a lot of demands towards the future, and cooperation is a main tool that both governments have embarked on. Before I start with my presentation, I would like to tell you a little bit about something that happened in Egypt, in Cairo, the capital of Egypt, a couple of months ago. In November 2022, there was a big celebration of 50 years of diplomatic relationships between United Arab Emirates and Egypt. It was a great time to remember and to appreciate what connects the two countries, what connects the two people. And during that big event, some of what has been reviewed are some of the moments where the United Arab Emirates was a new country to start. United Arab Emirates, as you know, was formed and had its independence back in 1974. And during that time, as a new country, Egypt, out of its commitment to its neighboring countries, out of its commitment to its brothers and sisters in the Arab world, helped with what could be done, with what we consider our duty in Egypt. Now, fast forward, in 2018, during a similar day like this day, our president was visiting United Arab Emirates, and there was a protocol that was signed between the two governments whereby Egypt can benefit from the experience and lessons learned in the United Arab Emirates in modernizing its government and modernizing its service offerings. So why did I tell you about this November event? First of all, because we still cherish it and appreciate it a lot in Egypt. Second, to put things in context, our president was just making a keynote speech a couple of hours ago, and he was talking about the importance of context. And I wanted to put things in context, meaning that cooperation is a two-way street. Cooperation is built on mutual trust, built on brotherly relationships, built on understanding that humanity is much better off facing challenges together rather than each country alone. So as I said, in 2018, the protocol was signed between the two ministers, our Minister of Planning and Economic Development, as well as His Excellency Minister Mohammed Al-Gergawi. And based on that, Egypt was starting to exchange experiences with Emirates, but with focus, in fact, on benefiting from the great success, the great advancement that happened in United Arab Emirates. We had three pillars for this protocol of cooperation. Sorry, he told me to stay close to the microphone. Three pillars, as a matter of fact. First pillar was the Government Excellence Program. Second pillar, introducing the concept of service centers. And the third pillar is governmental capacity building. I'll tell you first about the what we call the crown jewel of that cooperation, the Government Excellence Program. In fact, we saw it as a culture change. I mean, we call it the Government Excellence Award, but for us in Egypt, it's more than an award. And basically, it was based and built on the experience of United Arab Emirates, where they started the Sheikh Khalifa Excellence Program probably more than 20 years ago. 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago. and they developed a lot of lessons learned. They verified and re-verified and authenticated the program. They had lots of experience. So we built on that, and we started from where they landed. And basically, we consider it as a compass for the governmental thinking. That's how we see the excellence program. For us, it's a compass, how we want to see the government in the future. For those of you who participated in the session of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Arab Republic of Egypt, a couple of hours ago, he talked about that the new capital, for example, is about a change of mindset, a change of culture, a change of offering of the government. And that's how we see also the excellence program. We see the government excellence program a way for changing the culture, whereby we recognize success, we build in innovation, and we make it a mission for the government to introduce better life, to better the lives of citizens ongoing. I'm not going to read with you every day by day out of those 2,000 days that we worked on the Government Excellence Program in Egypt since its initiation, but it really started with the experience and knowledge of our brothers and sisters in the United Arab Emirates, to the extent that we consider ourselves one team. I mean, it's one team, but in two countries. And from there, we started with I would call it a conservative approach to introducing the program, because we realized from the early beginning that this was about culture change, it was about mindset change, more than just awarding awards or making a celebration. And I will go fast forward, where we launched the first cycle in 2019, so less than 1 year after signing the protocol I mentioned, where we focused on institutional excellence. That was the core of that program. But we also looked at the service excellence, and we did not neglect the fact that excellence being a culture change and the mindset change, so leaders play a great role and a core role in making this happen. So these were the three pillars of the excellence program: institutional excellence, service excellence, so that people can recognize the fruits, the outcome, the impact of the excellence, and then the leader's excellence as a clear locomotive of that change. As I said, this was the key focus in 2019 in the launch. In 2020, we moved forward and we started to use new techniques, like, for example, in the services excellence, we started to use the mystery shoppers. So it's not only about having standards and having qualified assessors and the jury, and I have the pleasure to have with us here Dr. Mansour, the head of the jury for the Egypt Governmental Excellence Program. So we appreciate a lot your contribution, Dr. Mansour. Thank you so much. So these are important skeletal elements, but also as important as that you see at the outcome, at the impact front, whether the excellence is paying back, is giving fruits to the citizens or not. This is why we applied, for example, the mystery shopper in the services area. We started to look at not only the leaders, because as I explained, that leaders are fundamental for achieving excellence, but we wanted to induce this culture change and mindset change from the early beginning or the early stage of governmental career employees. So we started to introduce excellence at an early career stage and looking at people who have the promising characters to focus on them and to develop them further. We also started to, I have to admit, we have I don't know what to call it, but maybe it's a disease in the government in Egypt, where there is a little bit of tendency to individuality or individual performance. People trying to focus on their individual performance, focus on being better, but I am better on my own, and this kind of attitude. So we introduced a Team Excellence Award, where we focus on achievements and excellence achieved by teams. And if the teams are cross-functional or from different entities, they get higher score. So we encourage people to cross the administrative borders and work together with others. So that was the advancement in the second cycle. And by the way, this second cycle was where we had the pandemic onset, and we had to face a philosophical question whether we consider it part of the shutdown and we shut down for that cycle like everything else until we see what's happening with the pandemic, or we used something that our minister, Her Excellency Dr. Hala Saeed, the Minister of Planning, usually says. In Arabic, it says تحويل المحنة إلى منحة, so turning the challenge into an opportunity. So we automated and digitized everything that we do in the award. So instead of, for example, paper or partial paper submissions, we moved to electronic submissions. And instead of typical physical assessments, we did electronic assessments. Even the jury, we did it online to facilitate the process, even if we had the pandemic. 2022 was the third cycle. So as you see, we are committed to do it every year. I believe this is not the case in UAE. I think UAE, they have the cycle every 2 years. But because we are still in our infancy in this program in Egypt, we make it a point that we repeat it every year so that we deepen the roots of the program and we expand as much as we can. So we introduced, for example, a completely new category, which is the equal opportunity and women empowerment excellence. So this is, again, an institutional award that is dedicated to governmental institutions which empower women and give them opportunities. And then we started to support even other initiatives, like, for example, introducing internal excellence programs in entities. So far, through the 3 cycles I explained, it used to be one national program. Now it started to have its franchise within universities and within other governmental entities like post offices and other governmental entities. So again, I say this because we are very proud of what has been achieved in this program. We are very proud of all the support we are getting from our brothers and sisters in UAE. And we believe that it is making progress. I mean, here are some statistics. I'm not going to take you one category after another, but this is the overall number. In the first cycle, we had about 1,700, roughly 1,700 submissions. We grew by 73% in the second round, and we grew by another 12 or 15% in the third cycle. So we are expanding. But if you remember what I just said about internal excellence programs, we are taking roots as well. So it's a horizontal expansion, but also vertical. But going back to this agreement between UAE and Egypt, it wasn't only about government excellence program. It was also about enhancing the service model to the Egyptian citizens. And the main objective, the main aim here is making life better for the citizens. And based on that, we launched a concept called خدمات مصر in Arabic, which is services of Egypt in English. And there was an intention behind that. We do not want the citizen to worry too much about the org structure of the government. They don't need to figure out that if I'm a citizen and need to do this transaction, so I have to go to this authority and then after that go to the other authority. I go to Egypt. That's the concept. So the center is called Egypt because it represents the state of Egypt in general. And it's like a one-stop shop concept, basically. You don't have to worry about which area to go to. So Back in, and this is an example of how it looks like. This was opened, inaugurated back in December, last December, in Aswan, which is at the far south of Egypt. Usually Aswan waits in the queue because everything starts in Cairo, the capital, and then trickles down to the other governorates. But this time there was an intention to give a different message, that we went to the far south of Egypt and launched this new concept. And now we are reapplying it in about 3 other governorates. And we have a plan that within 3 years, it will be expanded to all governorates. And the concept is, as I said, one-stop shop. So we have these entities in Egypt. We even included Wizara Shu'un Majlis al-Wuzara in the entities, in the Egyptian entities. But of course, that's the supporting entity from UAE. But we have the services from the Ministry of Local Development in Egypt, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Interior, all together bundled in one place. And the citizen doesn't have to worry about which one does what. They go, they face a front office with customer agents, and the customer agents take care of the details of the logistics. One important thing is this last one on the right-hand side, e-finance. E-finance is a non-government company, as a matter of fact. They are specialized in processing digital transactions and digital payments. And that was a first for the government of Egypt to partner with a non-government agency to do the processing and to take care of the payments and all that stuff. So that was a new thing for Egypt. So it was not only government-to-government cooperation between UAE and Egypt, but it was even the Egyptian government partnering with the private sector where they are specialized in something and they can add value in that particular thing. Not only that, we introduced also delivered services, let's call it this way, where we have these vans equipped with the same concept, but on a van. And they move to rural areas or far areas where it's not very suitable or very available at the moment to establish a service center. Sometimes they go to, I would say, common areas of gathering of the citizens for whatever reasons, and they are available there. That's the normal option. And there is an extra option for those who they don't want to go anywhere for whatever reasons, and they want the service to come to them. They can ask for a private delivery for an extra fee. So this is another model that is serving the citizen with governmental services. Last but not least, direct delivery of these concepts to build middle management, future leaders, frontline operators through the experience and benefiting from the experience of UAE, of the experts, of the specialists, and of actual employees who do the same thing or similar thing here in the UAE, transferring their knowledge and expertise. For example, we did about 100,000 training hours in 2018-19, 42,000 hours during 2021, and about 17,500 hours in different types of programs like data analysis and statistical capabilities, service development and service redefinition, strategic planning and future foresighting, and other programs. So in this quick, to some extent, presentation, I wanted to share with you our experience of an agreement with UAE, of a cooperation over the past 5 years in 3 tracks, where it is paying back very well to us in Egypt. We are benefiting from it a lot, and I have some of my colleagues here around the room who work on these programs in particular. But before I leave this podium, I want to leave you with 3 takeaways. First of all, cooperation is a must. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. true, we say that knowledge is more available now, information is more available now. You can go to the internet or even chat GPT or whatever and find out the information. But this does not replace the actual and the real experience. So for example, when we worked on the Government Excellence Program or service centers, our colleagues in the UAE, they did not hold back any of the lessons learned, even the mistakes, even the faults, and they were already pointing us out in the right direction. So it is a must. It is, number two, it is built on mutual respect and mutual trust. Cooperation is a two-way street that has to stay open between different countries. Our president, in his address a couple of hours ago, he talked a lot about context. So when we started on this program, to be honest, we were a little bit hesitant that UAE, it's a different size, it's a different level of technology, and so on and so forth. But coming close and having the right discussion, we were able to address the context. So you have to take the context into consideration. You cannot just copy and paste. You have to take the context into consideration. And the third thing, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I will say it, and Marwan will. Guys, I mean, those guys in the UAE are, they have a lot to offer, and they are generous. They are generous with their experience. They are generous with their knowledge. So there is no better place to have the World Government Summit than here in Dubai. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.